Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Solana and Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that a like and subscribe. So, I had a bachelor's party this weekend, and I forgot to take a day off from work. Big mistake when you cross the age of 30. You need that Monday after bachelor party to recover. That's for sure. But let's go straight to business. So, always looking a little bit back. TLT keeps on stabilizing and rising. The dollar still flat to low, which are the main things that you want to see. There has been, of course, the Trump has confirmed the tariffs in Canada and Mexico, and also is moving ahead with the discussions about the conflict in Europe. Some people are happy with it, some people are not happy with it. I think he's looking at it purely from an American standpoint. So I don't think he cares about Europe, to be honest. Um, I think he's sick and tired of basically being the police of the world. And at least two parties involved here have zero respect for Europe. Now, this is not, I'm not happy about it. I'm not, ha 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 ha, this is not for giggles, it's just the reality. I don't see any point for the US from a strategic perspective. Like, let's say that I'm defending the interests, militarily speaking, of the US in the world, right? Let me just throw it out there. Eurasia is really not the place for them because there's very little to gain. There's a lot to potentially lose in case things fall off. And he was always going to be called a Russian puppet if he proceeded with peace, because it has been very clear that the other side wants to prolong the conflict as much as possible. So we'll see what's going to happen. I look at it from a mostly from a market's perspective, because unfortunately there's nothing that I can do to avoid any of what has happened. And he also moved ahead with the tariffs on Mexico and Canada. I suspect markets will not like it, but I think the reaction will be less than what we've seen a few weeks ago. So I do expect that to be a little bit more positive. Now let's go and see what has happened in the last 4 or 5 Fridays. I mean, it has been very, very weird, right? I mean, almost coincidentally weird, but I leave that up to you, okay? I leave that up for you to judge. 17th of January, Trump coin comes out, sucks out the liquidity of almost all the market. Then we have the DeepSeek FUD. Then we have the tariffs and the liquidations, right, on Ethereum. Then we have the Bybit hack, also on the Friday. I mean, it's amazing how there's always something to happen on a Friday. So I think that the market, with today's action on the crypto market, will tilt towards fear, and most likely the lowest level of fear that we've been seeing since August, September of last year, of 2024. Now, if you go back and you look what happened the last time we had fear to the levels that I think we're going to see once we cross once basically coin market cap reflects the update of today's day, I get the feeling that we're going to go to max mid 30s, potentially even a little bit lower. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these upcoming Fridays will become the other way around. There's going to be a big DeFi event in which Donald Trump Jr. is attending, and that event is not limited to Ethereum, but Ethereum is by far the biggest coin in that space. And I mean, even considering Ethereum is pretty much 5% lower than last week, taking into account what just happened, right? The biggest hack in history of Ethereum, pure and simple. Solana, as I've mentioned, I mean, look, I have to say this about crypto banter. I saw someone today on Telegram of Somi saying something to the nature of, I don't remember what he said. Something like, Oh yeah, that crypto banter, because I also said that, I saw that episode as well. Crypto banter said, oh yeah, we are all aware about the token unlocks of Solana, and they've all been priced in. Priced in. We're talking 2025, we're talking, I think, $13 billion. That's, that's a Mount Gox. But for a coin that is less than a third the size of Ethereum. So if we were all afraid that the market couldn't absorb potentially $1.5 billion of Ethereum over 1 to 2 years, which is typically how much the hackers take to get rid of it, particularly in the months like this, if any, because sometimes they actually don't get rid of it, as I've mentioned in the previous video. So if you're all afraid of that, then how is it $13 billion? How can that be all priced in? I don't know. It just sounds super weird to me. What I said in the past week, I said, people asked me, do I think Solana is going to go down, etc. No, I think in dollar terms, I still think it will go up. I just don't think it's going to be the star of the show going forward from here. Now, is it going to be SUI? Is it going to be Ethereum? Is it going to be Pulse Chain? We'll see. Yeah? But I think one of them will be. And the question is going to be, how resilient is really the Solana's ecosystem? We're going to see, because we haven't seen them being tested as much as the others. Don't forget, they've been the unicorn so far. So we need to see what's going to happen if you're not the leader, the poster boy, the chosen child, let's say, for a while. Let's see how your community thrives underneath it. Very interesting. We'll see. Now, I've seen Solana today drop below $150. I don't know exactly how much it is at the time of this recording, but it's been obviously quite a drop. In Ethereum, I think most people are already accustomed to be down, so it's like you don't feel it anymore almost. However, it was good to see that a hack of that magnitude didn't create a super market crash that everybody was expecting on Ethereum. And the fundamentals still maintain. It's extremely oversold. The last 9 times it was oversold like this, it always broke up to the upside. Does it mean 10 will be different? We'll see. We need to see. We are pretty much doing what most of the good ERC20 tokens already did, which is retest the August lows. That's pretty much what we're doing with Ethereum and the others. If that is the case, we put in a massive double bottom spread out across, August is month 8, so let's say February, you're talking across 6 months, you make 2 huge quarterly, if you will, massive double bottoms, which could be very, very interesting going forward. Now, I've said this before, and this is the reality. If we don't close February, or give or take a week or so, if we don't close above $4,000 on Ethereum, we are officially in new territory. So we are not tit for tat repeating 2017 anymore. And I'm saying this again, I've been saying this in every single video, because I already know that as soon as we tick to 1st of March, I'm going to get a comment about this. Also, the bull market is over, right? So the bull market is, I already know. No, it doesn't mean the bull market is over. It means that we are no longer following tit for tat, meaning exactly identical to 2017. We are now entering into a little divergence. Now, does that mean that, for example, March is gonna play catch up so big that March brings us into the 2017 fractal, and we can say, okay, we are still in the 2017 fractal, but we did have something different? Or no? Or is it a completely different thing? I'll give you this example. You'll understand perfectly. I've mentioned this in the previous video, but maybe for the newcomers that haven't seen it. What do we know in every single cycle? Bitcoin goes up. In the Bitcoin halving year, it goes up until the halving. Then you have a sell-off after the halving, and then around Q4 of the year of the halving, 2024 last time, 2020, etc. Q4 is a very strong year. Q4 of the year of the halving is a very strong year. Correct? Correct. What have we seen? What did we see in 2024? Exactly that. We went up into March. The halving was in April, so we sold off from April to around September, October. And then October, November, December were very good months. Okay, but there was something different. What was it? Two things. One, Bitcoin made a new all-time high before the halving. Never happened before. Number two, meme coins went up more than they should at that time. So in general, most of the cycle was identical, but you did have some differences. So that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is about the $4,000 Ethereum before the end of February is that, okay, we need to acknowledge we are in uncharted territory. Does that mean that we're making a detour and we're going to go back to the previous path? Does it mean we're going to do a new path? Does it mean that we're going to glue into the 2017 cycle, for example, a little bit later, like May? Who knows? That's the part that you need to discover. What are my principles? Are altcoins cheap? Yes. Objectively, yes. What is my rule? I buy cheap and I try to sell when it's expensive. If things get delayed, if things take longer than expected, I hold longer than expected. The good part about my situation is I don't have any leverage. So I am not pressed for time. I actually have a colleague at work. He was talking to me about today. He's super stressed out because he has a lot of call options that mature at the end of March. And I told him, why are you doing this? And he said, oh yeah, because I don't trust other coins. But because Bitcoin no longer gives me the returns that it used to, obviously you no longer have 100x's, he tries to compensate with leverage. And I told him 1,000 times, don't do leverage. Because you can be right about the movement, but the timing will kill you. Obviously, it was me raising his awareness. I'm not giving financial advice to anyone here. I was telling him, hey, be careful. I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't do it personally. You're a grown man, it's up to you. But understand that you can be completely right about the destination, about more or less the length of time that will take to get there, and still get completely annihilated because you missed the timing by a little bit. That's what I've told my colleague. So I wish him the best of luck. Maybe March gives him what he needs. But now he's in a hyper-stressed mode because what can happen is he can lose a lot of money in March, and then April can be amazing, and he gets left behind. See what I mean? So we are still looking at the same things. Are things cheap? Are things expensive? Is liquidity rising? Will liquidity keep on rising? I suspect that the tariffs will be less and less of a concern, particularly if inflation readings going forward keep showing lower than expected. Back in 2017 was the same thing. Everybody was afraid that the tariffs were going to be extremely inflationary. And then they weren't. But the arguments being made at the time are the same arguments being made today. But once again, I get you. I understand you. I feel the same pain. We are desperate for the dopamine of the green candles. So all of these are all very nice stories, but until you see the green candles, you will be pissed off. And there's nothing I can tell you. And I get it. What I try to point out is this. Fundamentals precede price. That's it. So there's going to be a time, I think shortly, in which price will turn green quite aggressively. And then people will say, oh, of course it's green. It's because of A, B, and C, and D. and they will fail to point out that A, B, C, and D have happened today. The reason why I don't think the bull market is over is because we have been in fear and neutral for a long time. Bull markets end in euphoria, extreme greed, max, scams so big that they make Bybit look amateur night at the Apollo. See what I mean? Makes it look like it shouldn't even be classified as a scam, if you understand, right? It's so small that why are you wasting your time? We are away from it yet. As long as we are away from it, I think, in my view, I see no reason for me personally to sell anything. So I'm not. Can I be wrong? Yes, completely wrong. Crypto can go, Bitcoin, you can wake up tomorrow and Bitcoin be 40K or 20K, who knows? Is it possible? Yes. It's a risk you need to live with. And with that, thank you very much for support, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, drop that comment, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much for your patience.